NATO's latest spending report shows improvement when it comes to reaching defense budget goals. 11 member countries met the guideline of spending 2% of their respective gross domestic products on defense in 2023. Since the beginning of 2024, that number has risen to 18. The increase marks a stark contrast from 10 years ago, when only 3 allied nations met the goal. CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis joins us now from Washington. Olivia, despite the progress made, or maybe because of the progress made, Poland is now calling on NATO members to up their defense spending to 3% of their respective GDPs. What's behind that, and how's the U.S. responding to that call?
Sure. Well, John, as you know, Poland happens to know all too well what being invaded by neighboring countries feels like. So ever since it was admitted to NATO now 25 years ago, it's been something of an overachiever. Today, within the alliance, it is the top spender on defense as a share of GDP at close to 4%, and that's a record high. Its president, Andrzej Duda, recently wrote an op-ed calling for all members, as you note, to go beyond that recommended 2% spending level because, he says, of the security risk posed by Russia today. He pointed out that Russia, on a wartime footing, is spending close to 30% of its annual budget on arming itself, and simply said that NATO needed to be equally bold. The counter-argument to all of that, of course, is that this puts into stark relief the fact that while there's improvement, a good portion of NATO members still are not meeting that 2% of GDP mark, which is why I think this proposal from Poland was met by the U.S. and others with a "that is all well and good, lead by example, but let's meet our benchmarks first before we move them further out."
Right. You got to walk before you can run. One member, Denmark, hasn't met the target, but says it will boost its defense budget over the next 5 years. It's also going to start conscripting women for the first time. What's the significance of that?
I think that's reflective of this growing sentiment throughout Europe that it has to take more charge of its own defense, invest in its own defense, and not always assume that the U.S. is going to be this transatlantic guarantor of European security, because that could very well change very shortly. We've seen that most markedly of late from the French president, Emmanuel Macron, who made these headlines by saying, in the name of strategic ambiguity, that the West can't rule out having Western troops on the ground in Ukraine. That, of course, not only immediately inflamed tensions with Russia, it made for a very open rift with the Germans. In Germany, Chancellor Scholz has made, for domestic reasons, part of his reputation being this maintainer of peace in Europe. But you saw the French president double down on those remarks today, saying in an interview that if Russia wins in Ukraine, there's going to be no more security in Europe. So that drama is playing out in very real time. Yes,
Macron seizing the moment of leadership when U.S. leadership looks maybe questionable. Let me ask you about the politics. Just to pick this up wherever you want. We know about the political concerns about what Donald Trump might do if he's elected president again. What are some of the other political unpredictabilities in the region, and among NATO members, Hungary, for example, that are buffeting the alliance?
Absolutely. I mean, you pointed out the Trump remarks, which he very much, to very many headlines, made recently, saying that he wouldn't come to the defense of a NATO ally who wasn't spending the requisite amount, in his view. Various fact checks have, of course, pointed out that Presidents Bush and Obama before him had pushed the alliance to spend more. That's a separate issue. To your actual question, I mean, I think there's real concern among European partners right now that as the Ukrainian issue gets politicized here in the United States, the NATO issue could get politicized as well, with Republicans feeling like they have to take Trump's side whenever the issue arises. And as much as officials here and overseas have loved touting the fact that the alliance is bigger and stronger with these new members in Sweden and Finland, bigger can sometimes have its downsides, right? Especially when you need to have unanimity to get things done. You've got Turkey, you've mentioned Hungary playing the spoilers already with making this process of accession for Finland and Sweden very protracted. And the Hungarians, most recently, have also come out in public opposition to the U.S.-endorsed successor for the UN Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who's leaving his post in October. So there are more fights afoot.
Indeed, and we'll be having you back on to explain those next steps. Olivia Gazis in Washington, thank you very, very much.